Hi, Business Math. Today we're going to continue on with Lesson 5.1, Promissory Notes, and we're going to complete the practice. Hopefully you've done these problems and you're using this video to check your work and to make corrections as needed. So if you haven't done so, do one with me, hit pause, and then try some on your own, and then hit play and check your work to make sure you're doing it right. Okay, so this first chart, it says find the interest to be paid for each promissory note. So we're just calculating interest here. And let's remember our interest formula equals principal times rate times time. Okay, so that's all we're doing. So let's calculate the first one. 2,500 times 0.15 times 2. And we get $750. All right, our second one, we're doing 12,500 times 12%, which is 0.12, times 3.5. So I'm going to make that 3.5. And our answer is 5,250. Put your dollar signs on. And I think you should try this one on your own. Hit pause, try it, and then hit play. Okay, let's check. 500 times 0.08 times half, which I can just put in as 0.5. So $20. This box was just finding interest. Now we're going to find the interest and then calculate the maturity value for each. And remember, maturity value is the amount due at the end of the loan period. Okay, so the first one, we have $500, 3 years, 12%. So 500 times 0.12 times 3. Write the interest down in the box, 180. And then this box, this is your principal, this is your interest, and we just add those two values. So it's going to be 680. Excuse me. All right, the next box, try to get everything on the screen at once. All right, so we have $150, 3 months, and 18%. So 150, 18% is 0.18, and 3 out of 12 months, so 3 divided by 12 here. You can just do that right in the parentheses. Hit enter. $6.75. So we're going to add $6.75 to 150. So 156.75 will be our maturity amount due. Last one, we have 920 at 5.5%. Remember, 5% is 0.05. And if it's another half, it's going to be 0.055. And then 2.25 years, so I hope you guys remember what the quarter is as a decimal, 0.25. And it's $113.85. And then we're going to add to that our principal amount, 920. So we get $1,033.85 for our maturity value. Okay, this row is this next section, all 6 problems, we're finding the exact interest. Remember, when you see the words exact interest or you see an amount of days, you're dividing the number of days divided by 365 for your time. I'm only going to do, I'll just go through them all. But you should pause the video and try these because they're not too bad. So let's write out what we're doing. 360 times 0.14 times 210 divided by 365. And this is where you can just use your calculator. 210, divide by button, 365. We get $28.99. And see this 7 sitting here? We need to round this up to the nearest whole dollar. So this whole amount becomes $29. Okay, same skills for number B, letter B, 1500 times 0.15 times 36 over 365. And we get $22.19 here. Letter C, 1200 times 0.06 times 240 out of 365 days. $47.34. Letter D, 2400 times 0.09 times 60 out of 365. Are you rounding correctly? $35, and this should be 51 cents. Okay, letter E, we have 450 at 12%, so 0.12. 146 divided by 365. $21.60. Remember, our calculators cut off that 0. All right, last one for this column. 1,450 times 0.07 times 100 out of 365 days. And we get $27, and again, round appropriately, 81 cents here. This 8 makes this 0 round up to a 1. Excuse me, we just had dinner, so. All right, number 4. Bill Rich signed a 180-day note for $1,250. He repaid the loan when due with interest at an annual rate of 12%. How much interest did Bill pay? So they just want the interest, so it's principal times rate times time. Principal is $1,250. The rate is 0.12, and the time is 180 divided by 365. So the interest he's paying $73.97. What total amount did he pay? Remember, this is the maturity value that they're asking for, so it's interest plus the principal. So the interest was $73.97, and he borrowed $1,250. All we do is add those two things. So we get $1,323.97. Next page. Okay, number 5. To finance the remodeling of her kitchen, Rosa borrowed $26,400 on an 18-month home equity loan. She signed a promissory note bearing interest at 7.5%. What total amount did Rosa pay on the due date? Okay, first of all, this is really unusual to be paying this amount of money off in 18 months, but it's a scenario, so we're going to go with it. So we're calculating the interest first, principal, rate, and time, and then we're going to do the maturity value, the principal plus the interest. Okay, so let's sub in. The principal is $26,400. The rate is 7.5, so 0.075. And it's 18 months, so 18 over 12, because it's out of months, right? 18 months, 18 over 12, 12 months in a year. You could also use 1.5 here, because 12 months is a year, 6 months is a half a year, so 1.5 is also acceptable here. So let's calculate this interest now using our calculators. And I'm just going to go ahead and use the 1.5. 2,970. And let's do the maturity value. Remember, it's P plus I, principal plus interest. So 26,400 plus that 2,970. $29,370. Number 6 is very similar, so if you want to pause, try this on your own independently, and then play the video, see if you got it right. Rondell Wilson borrowed $2,000 to replace the furnace in his house. The promissory note he signed was for 3 months at 15.25% interest. How much did Rondell pay when the note came due? So we have to calculate the interest first. And the principal here is $2,000 times the rate. It's 15.25, so 0.1525. And 3 months, 3 out of 12. So he's paying $7.63. Let me just calculate that one more time in case I missed something. I think I missed a zero here. It didn't seem right to me. $76.25 is my interest. It's always good to double check yourself. Okay, now the maturity value, P plus I, the principal was $2,000 plus the interest of $76.25. So maturity value here is $2,076.25. Okay, we're on number 7 now. Khalil Hamid Ali borrowed $12,000 and paid $1,890 in exact interest when the loan came due 1.5 years later. What rate of interest did Khalil pay? Well, we're going to set up our formula for finding the rate. We know everything else, so we're going to make our formula, and here's my work. I've already done these, so it'd go a little faster. So I set up my formula, rate equals interest divided by principal times time. So you list out your givens. Your interest is $1,890. Your principal amount borrowed was $12,000, and your time was 1.5. And then you simply sub those values into your formula, and you work out your math. Now, very important on the bottom of this denominator, you must put this in parentheses. If you don't do that, you're going to have errors, okay? Because if you just put 1890 divided by 12,000 in your calculator and you don't put the parenthesis first, it's going to do that first, then multiply. We don't want that. We want this value divided by this product. These two things multiplied together, okay? So in this one, you'll get 10.5%. And I'll show you what I mean on the calculator. So you're going to type in 1890, divide by button, parenthesis, 12,000 times 1.5, close parenthesis. And yes, you get a decimal, but you need to multiply that by 100 to turn it back to a percentage. So this one is 10.5%. Okay, you should try the next two. I think 8, 9, and 10 are all rate problems. Yes, try 8, 9, and 10 and hit pause, try them, and then restart the video and check your work. Okay, so I hope you've tried those last 3 problems here on this type of skill. So let's look at number 8. She borrowed $2,500 for 18 months, and the total interest she paid was $315. We're looking for the rate. So we set up our formula, the generic one. We write out our givens. We substitute those values in, and we get 8.4%. Number 9, we do the same thing. We write down our formula. We're finding rate, so it's I over PT. And we list out our known values. We sub in, we do our calculator work, and we get 11%. The last finding rate problem is number 10. We have I over PT. We list out our givens. The interest paid was $19.50. The loan amount was $2,600, and the time was 1 out of 12 months because it says for 1 month. We substitute in, then we type this in our calculator just like we see it. You can use alpha y equals underneath a division bar, that's fine. And you get a 9%. The last stretching your skills problem today is number 11. A family sells their home for $150,000 through a real estate agent who deducts $9,000 commission. Other costs they were charged to complete the sale totaled $1,875. What percent of the sale price did the family receive to the nearest whole percent? Well, we have to figure out what they received. We take the $150,000 and we deduct off the $9,000 that was paid to the real estate agent for making the sale. And then these are probably closing costs, I would imagine. It doesn't tell us that, I'm just assuming. So the family takes this amount home. This is what they get. So this divided by the total will give you our percent. Okay, so this is the percentage of the sale that they received. Okay, so your textbook practice problem should be completed. Tomorrow we will work on the workbook, the first page, page 51. Have a very good day.